Hey Zach, how's it going?
Oh, right. How about you?
Well, I don't know, man. I it always looks fine on my end. My camera
Uh
always
huh.
looks good on my end. I don't know how it looks to everybody else. I hope I hope it's good because
A
we're
new hope.
ready.
A new
It's a
hope.
new hope. It's a new hope that the Empire won't strike back. They will instead see a return to form. See what I did there?
Yeah, because today we're talking about episode 6, The Jedi Returns,
The Jedi comes back.
for more.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about Return of the Jedi. We've been going through in preparation for Rise of Skywalker. We're going through all of the released Star Wars films, sans Clone Wars 2008, unless you want to watch that. I don't know, or
it's too
2007.
late to fit it in now.
Yeah.
There's too many things.
Also, it's kind of just like the first three episodes of the Clone Wars that just smashed together, basically, from what I understand. I've actually never seen it, but
Mm.
I have seen the show. But anyway, I when I was a little kid, I always kind of thought like I sort of I don't want to say like I think I preferred this one to Empire, at least when I was a little kid.
Hmm.
Um, I think I just really liked the fact that it wrapped the story up and it was a good ending, and I like the whole redemption arc that Darth Vader undergoes. Spoilers, I guess, for
Hmm.
for a movie that came out in 1983. I've since reevaluated this film a little bit more. I think I guess just to start the discussion off, I think this one probably has the most flaws of any of the original trilogy films. I don't think that makes it bad by any means. I think for people that I talk to that tend to say this one is the most flawed, there are some people that even say that they prefer like Revenge of the Sith to this movie, which
Hmm.
I think they're crazy. I think there was we'll get to my thoughts on some of those prequels eventually. I've never really like understood the kind of like the weird backlash this movie kind of gets. I think there's problems with it, but I don't think they negate from what the film brings to the table overall, particularly in concluding the story. Yeah, I mean, definitely rewatching it this time. Now that I've grown older, I can. It's definitely like, yeah, there's parts of this that are like, a little. And this time, Disney Plus is out. But guess what? I didn't do.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it on Disney Plus. I brought out my old VHS copy of this. I watched it for. And I said to a friend last night, I was like, "That's right. I would rather watch a 4:3 pan and scan low quality, I mean low quality today's standards version, cropped, not getting the full picture of the original film, than watch a beautifully transferred version that's streaming, because I think the changes in this one for the special editions are probably the most offensive and egregious of any changes I could think of for all kinds of reasons. But I've been talking long enough. Zach, what are your thoughts on Return of the Jedi? I'm actually genuinely curious because I knew you liked Empire. I'm definitely curious as to your sort of
Hmm.
thoughts on Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I remember the first time watching it, and even like rewatching it. I feel like I rewatched it a year or two ago with my brother, and I remember really liking it. I was like, oh, why does this one get so much flack? I'm actually into this. I love the Ewoks. Big Ewok fan.
Honestly, me
Yeah.
too. I've
Yeah. Yeah.
always liked the Ewoks, and and that's the thing. I don't. That's one of the things that people say is just that's George Lucas, like completely. That's his marketing thing. That's just he just wants to sell
Hmm.
toys. It's like, well, George Lucas has been selling toys pretty well since the first one came out. I don't think he needed a special thing to sell more toys because I mean, he's gonna sell toys no matter what he puts out. I've always liked the Ewoks. I agree with you there. I think they're fun, they're cute.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
it's like,
they are very central to the plot, where it's like they're involved in way too much. It feels like, but
yeah, yeah.
I do really like them. But yeah, I can definitely see there's a lot of flaws, and I did watch the new version. I was
Oh
hoping you
God,
watched the new version so
I
we
know it
could
well enough to I
okay.
know it well enough to suffer along with you. Trust me.
Just some gross CGI in here.
Oh man, oh this what they did to to Snice Noodles in Jabba's palace. It was just like, okay, so that seems like not really important, granted. But to replace all the puppet work that was going on in Jabba's palace for that scene, for Snice Noodle's number, all the different puppets that are around with her dancing and stuff, and to replace it with, it's like, oh, you get to see the guy, you get to see his uvula shake, and he's like, ah, it's just like, it's so embarrassing.
That's the worst part.
Just embarrassing, and I can't believe.
And the freaking stretchy lips right in your face. They come
gosh.
right. It's like a 3D effect. Did they do it for 3D?
Yeah.
They didn't get.
They didn't.
They
But
didn't.
you better believe before they sold the rights to Disney, that Lucasfilm was that was going to be like the big feature of the 3D transfer of Return of the Jedi would be Snice Noodle's lips coming out at you.
I mean, the CGI aside, this is just a strange scene anyway. It's a weird musical thing. It's just kind of thrown in there. Feels like.
I don't understand. So the original number feels a lot more like the music that's already been playing at Jabba's palace, and she's singing in I don't remember the exact Tatooinean. I don't really know exactly what it is, but I'm not super up to date on that aspect of Star Wars, like languages and stuff, but the number just is just very seamless with the scene. You see the people dancing around, and then it goes to the Twi'lek slave girl who's trying to who's kind of having a tiff with Jabba because he's a creepy slug pervert, and then he doesn't appreciate it, so he tosses her the Sarlacc. It all kind of flows seamlessly, but like in the cut of With Jedi Rocks, which is the name of that song, which is I'm so sad that the soundtrack that I have, which I think is actually up here somewhere, but it doesn't come with the original song. It comes with Jedi Rocks. So it's like I always skip over that because like I don't want to hear the ooh ni te ba ba da ba da. But I mean, okay, it's catchy. It just does not belong in this movie.
I mean, there's a lot of weird CG parts. Like every CGI part in this movie is very noticeable. It's like
the weird Ewok blinking. Yeah, that's probably like the least egregious. I actually don't really have that big a problem with it.
Yeah.
My question for that is more just why? Like why is that? Like I almost feel like it was George being like, it's kind of weird when I'm watching the movie and the little fuzzy bears, they don't blink. So I'm gonna make them blink. Yeah, that'll be good. It really bothers me.
Remember that classic line from Star Wars: Return of the Jedi where Darth Vader goes, "No!" Yeah, that was a great line.
Yeah, I know. The thing I always think about is like, man, if only there was a way, it's almost like Lucas was looking at the original scene and be like, man, it's just that I wonder if there's a way to communicate what he's thinking to the audience. I mean, I'm not. He's only like showing me visually the whole time, with his son's death cries in the background and the lightning sound effects and the blue lights flashing and him looking back and forth. But he just needs to say something there. He really needs to just
no.
The line "no" has to be said. Yeah. Well, it's not just no. It's no. No. It's just like, oh, it's so bad, and it's like Darth Vader has to say no. That's his big line. That was like the big line in Revenge of the Sith. The line that everyone loves in that movie. No one was laughing in the audience when they saw that. We gotta put in him saying no again to completely undercut the emotional depth of that scene, which it does. Watching that scene without that, like, honestly, like, it hit me in the pit of my stomach again. I've seen this movie many times, but like, there's just something so like heart-wrenching about like him being so torn in this whole movie, and then him finally making that switch and just understanding, no, this is what I have to do. And yeah, that's just something really, really great about it. Well, what other to remind me of some of the other weird CGI? I'm trying to remember.
So yeah, I'm interested. Like I wish, because I don't even have a good memory of how it was before. So
yeah,
I wish I had something to compare it to. So I'm like trying to see, was this like this before? But there was a weird part where she was looking through a window, or someone was looking through a window, and then the whole gang was on one of those ships zooming by, and I was like, oh, doesn't look good. But
I'm trying to remember. Were they?
this was at like when they're going to the Sarlacc, or yeah.
Oh yeah, was
Yeah,
it with Leia kind of looking out the?
at the window.
Yeah, there are some weird compositing issues in this movie that the wonders of modern filmmaking just can't get by. It's the weird green screen stuff, I think, is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
One of which is it's always been Luke in the Sarlacc pit, or not the Sarlacc pit, the fighting the
Rancor.
The Rancor. When it's especially the one where he's like shoving the stick up into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly him with a prosthetic thing around his body to make it look like it's grabbed onto him.
Yeah,
and then it's like him at a screen, and then it like it's like a weird cut to like getting put in its mouth. Yeah, there's some weird stuff like that in this movie. It's some of that's just to do with the age of the film, and it's funny because like Empire doesn't really have anything like that. So it's interesting. At least not that I'm remembering anyway. It's nothing that like obvious. There's the sail barge scene too had that too. There's some weird like issues with some of that. Definitely in this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right about that. And there's not much. I just don't know what there is to be done about it because it's just kind of the nature of how it was filmed. So there's not really a CG can't really do. It can only do so much. Thank goodness. Anyway.
So also, I paid attention from last time when we talked about the wipe cuts. I paid attention to every wipe cut. I was like, these are a lot of wipe cuts.
Did you count them?
I counted them, and there's about 21 that I counted.
That's about roughly every other scene transition, I'd say, probably.
Yeah,
maybe
that's a lot of wipes. And there was like so many different wipes. It was like wipe cut down.
Yeah, I noticed some like some
corner
different
to corner.
wipes in this one. Yeah, the corner to corner. I like there was one that was like it was almost like a clock, but like or like kind of like a.
Oh yeah, they did that a lot.
Pendulum. Yeah, that one. That one's one they use a lot. Yeah.
They had a lot of wipes. But
it
was just a go-to thing then.
That's funny.
I noticed that Leia had a lot of different outfits in this movie.
She did, yeah. A lot of different hairstyles too.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the iconic Slave Leia. Scenes.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Slave Leia. It's funny because it's like that's like the iconic like nerd culture sexy sex appeal type thing. It's like she's in the movie for like 10 minutes with that.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like
almost hardly even that.
So sexy how Jabba is like a weird perv.
Yeah.
Sexy, very sexy.
Oh, see, Jabba's great. That's one thing. I'm so glad that they didn't touch him with CG. Jabba still looks great. He's disgusting. He just that's talking about great puppetry.
Yeah.
He's another great one. I think he had. I don't remember if he had 2 or 3 operators, but someone had to do the mouth and the eyes, and then someone else for the tail. I don't know if the rest of the body had someone too, but yeah, another great practical effect that looks real. It looks like he's slimy. I like how like in different scenes he's got like different like gunk on him too.
Yeah.
And like C-3PO starts getting like when he starts like hitting him and stuff, he's got like slime all over him. Like I love stuff like that. The little details. That's one thing that I always really liked about this movie. Those little details like that. When, well, these movies in general. My critiques of this movie are more the narrative is sort of disjointed feeling. And that's kind of the nature of like it's the last part, we got to wrap stuff up. But it almost feels like you're hitting a checklist at the first half of the movie. It's like, all right, we got to rescue Han. Luke's got to go back to Dagobah because he said he was going to, and we got to wrap up some other like maybe like random things like, oh, didn't you say Darth Vader killed his father? Not that Darth Vader was his father. Stuff like that, and sort of like Obi-Wan's explanations, where it's just like Alec Guinness clearly just didn't want to do it, and so he's just like, yeah, sure, I'll come and I'll sit on a log for for like a day's worth of filming.
Yeah.
And then well, he showed up again at the end, and he actually looked okay there.
And we'll bring Hayden Christensen back.
Oh my
and
god!
Retroactively.
Yeah, that was. Oh, I hate that too. I can kind of understand what he's thinking with Hayden Christensen, but my question is, why?
Why indeed? Because
why replace an actor? There was a guy there already.
And why? Yeah, why would he? Why does Darth Vader get to be young Anakin while Obi-Wan's still old? You know.
Yeah, that's my question. Why you can't replace Alec Guinness? You could put Ewan McGregor in there, but Ewan McGregor was probably like, no.
And then just young Yoda in there too.
Yeah, they could have used like CG Yoda, like superimposed him in there as like a Force ghost. Oh, that would have been just the worst. I mean, it was bad enough when you put Hayden Christensen there, and like no shade on Hayden Christensen. We'll get to that in time. No shade on Hayden Christensen for doing that. It's more shade on why, George. Why?
Right.
Why, like, it's just so strange to like erase. Like, okay, the guy who played Darth Vader, he wasn't doing like a ton of acting in that, but it's weird to like still wipe him almost completely out of the movie.
And add in someone who comes into the Star Wars universe years later. Yeah,
it's so strange. I don't. There's weird things like that. But yeah, sort of back to it feeling a little disjointed. It almost feels like kind of episodic, but the thing that, particularly watching it this time, I was noticing more. The one thing that stays really consistent throughout is showing Luke's kind of journey in this movie itself, and he's conflicted too because he doesn't want to. He's kind of come to accept he's matured into an adult. He's matured into practically a Jedi.
I was gonna say Luke is not he's past the point of the annoying whiny Luke in the beginning. If you look at the first movie now, it's night and day. And the first scene you see him come in Jabba's palace, he's completely new confidence he has now.
Yeah.
And he's trying to pull some Jedi mind tricks.
And doing a great job. I just love I love his character arc throughout these films. And I love the stuff with his hand, his robotic hand. I love how much that comes into play in this movie, because he's he looks down at it from an occasion, because it gets shot in the sail barge fight, and then he's kind of covers it up with a glove, with a new glove. I think he had a glove on already, but there's bits and pieces of where he looked down at it. Remember, there's a part where he's talking to the Emperor. He looks down at it. I remember, and then of course he looks down at it again when he cuts off Darth Vader's arm in a very poetic way. But
and then Darth Vader goes, "No, my arm."
No, and he is
my arm.
Instead of him going, "Oh," they should have gone, "No." His arm
flails in the air. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, they should have added a shot of watching the
arm. Oh god, yeah, the arm's tumbling. Yeah.
The whole motif of how the Emperor is basically just grooming him to be another Darth Vader, because Darth Vader's old, Darth Vader's used up, and Luke has much more potential even than him, which is incredible. Having him look down and realize the connection to his father is maybe I'm not so different from him. He's I'm angry. I'm fighting against what you're saying, what you're standing for, that you're going to turn Leia. But then coming to the realization after he's kind of given in to baser, more dark side instincts of seeing his father's robotic arm, how it's then looking down at his own. It's just this really great. That's something that you can't add a line to that. That's visual storytelling. That's you making a connection with Luke about him relating to his father now, even more. Not just on a I'm your son, but almost at a physical level. I have stuff like that in me too, but clearly he's still a person. There's still good in him, and then rejecting the Emperor's call, essentially. One of my favorite lines of defiance: "You failed, Your Highness." He's just like, "No, I'm not going to give in to the dark side. I won't do it."
The dark side is really some shit too. It's like we're winning. We're converting you to the dark side because now you're mad at us. So it's like, oh yes, you give in to the hate. Just like them hating, like I hate the dark side. Oh, you're coming over the dark side now because you're hating it. Great. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm just gonna be nice to you, okay?
We've got to respect it, as a force, as a opposing entity. Respect it, and control yourself not to be succumbed to it.
But I mean,
Yeah, I get.
it's like it's like you're killing criminals. You know, it's like saying Batman. Batman.
So Luke killing Jabba wasn't a dark side.
Yeah.
He did. He tried to offer him a way out of it multiple times. He said, I loved it. He was like, "That's the last mistake you'll ever make."
Yeah, but it still counts. Leia went over to the dark side when she choked him out with the chains. Yes, you've succumbed. That classic line from Jabba. Yes, you have succumbed to the hate.
You are the one
You embrace the dark side. What do you like, or what do you think of the whole indoor speeder bike chase stuff? There's a lot of that.
That's another thing. That's another green screen thing.
Yeah, a lot of green screen.
Green screen there. Yeah. I mean, I know some people are just saying George cheaped out in the filming of this one because he produced this one, and it was just like, let's just film it in California.
Yeah.
And they filmed basically the whole movie in California, Death Valley, and then in the Redwood National Forest, basically, or Sequoia National Forest. I don't remember which, but I mean, the one thing that I really like is that each film has almost a different color palette in your mind. The first one is kind of a gold. The second one is like a blue or a
white.
Yeah, a blue or a white, I would say. And then the third one's like kind of a green.
Mm-hmm.
I like how each film has its own color identity, kind of, because it keeps it fresh. Every film is very, and it doesn't just have to do with the fact that they're all directed by 3 different people, but I think it gives the films their own identities from each other, despite the fact that they're part of a series, and I kind of like that. I like the Endor stuff. I do think the battle drags on a little bit, particularly when we're spending like 25 minutes in front of a door. While a more interesting space battle is going on up above. Which, by the way,
what? What's that?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say the space battles in this. If you thought the fight against the Death Star in the first one is really exciting, which it is, this is some of like my favorite space combat in a sci-fi film. I think it feels hectic, and like it really uses 3-dimensional space like very well, where it's like because if you pay attention to like all the backgrounds and stuff where they're all flying around and stuff, there's like the Death Star is like in a position at one point where it's like in front of them, and then the entire fleet moves closer, and they'll get really close to it, and then it's almost like the perspective shifts, and it's almost like all the ships have almost come to where they're instead of coming down towards it, they're like level with the Death Star, so it's almost like they've come up and their z-axis like this, and I love the details and all that kind of stuff, and especially when the A-wing gets destroyed and flies through the bridge of the Super Star Destroyer, and the Super Star Destroyer comes down and it just crashes into the Death Star 2. Super cool. Or the Super Death Star. I don't know. I don't actually know what its name is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just called Death Star 2, if memory serves, or the other Death Star or something. I don't know. It's much bigger than the original Death Star. That's all I remember.
Like the over the top. I'm hit. Explosion.
I'm hit.
I was just gonna say that Han Solo goes in for a titty grab when Leia gets shot in the shoulder. I notice this every time. Like I mean, it's not supposed to be purposeful, but he like always grabs grabs their shoulder and then grabs their boob right after. It's like, Leia.
And they do the inversion there too, where he says "I love you" and she says "I know."
Oh.
It's like, that's cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
The score I think is great. Again, I mean, you could say that literally any of these movies.
Hmm.
The one thing I really like about this one is calling back to basically all the major themes of all the previous films. So we get the Han and Leia theme, we get the Force theme, obviously, we get the Imperial March, but then we get new themes on top of that. We get like an Ewok theme. We have some of my favorite of the rebellion theme. It's the ba 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 da dum bum bum ba da dum bum bum ba da dum. I love that stuff. And then the Emperor's theme. This is like a men's choir singing menacingly. Ooh.
Yeah, I like just the little interactions too, like between C-3PO. I mean, C-3PO had a nice little moment in this movie with the whole Ewoks revering him as a god.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I just like the interaction between C-3PO and Han Solo. You know, that little. He's like, "Hurry up, will you? I haven't got all day."
Yeah. After
But he's
telling
like,
him, it's like, yeah, they'll please the base, right? And see if
and
they
he
can get some
keeps,
supplies
yeah.
too.
Hurry up, will you? I
Yeah,
haven't got all day.
hurry up, would you? Yeah.
And I love when Leia gives food to the Ewok and then it just plops down next to him.
Oh yeah.
It's
It's so cute. Yeah. You know who Wicket is played by Warwick Davis,
okay.
and that's his first film role.
Oh.
Yeah. If memory serves anyway. That's his first film role. So yeah, that's cool. I like. Yeah, Wicket's great. He's just a cute little curious Ewok.
Mhm.
The incompetent one.
And
He's always
just
the one that they're showing where they're all the warriors are like throwing like their stones, and he's like, "Arr!" He hits his head.
and her feeding him just turned out to be like the most useful thing. Like
Yep.
it paid off so much
Yeah.
down the road.
Oh, and there's another. Oh, the other one I like are the two that join Chewbacca when they get into the AT-ST,
Hmm.
and the one is like so happy to have Chewbacca. He just keeps like patting him and like petting him on the neck.
Yeah.
Because Chewbacca's like blowing everything up.
And then there's the one hugging Han Solo's leg when they're
Yeah,
like.
he just loves Han Solo so much. He's just like, this guy's great. I love him. Also, another slight kind of issue with this movie I have. Han Solo doesn't really have anything to do anymore.
Hmm.
I mean, he does, but like for the most part, his arc is over. So they just sort of like throw in a weird like, slightly jealous of Luke again, kind of, but not really.
Oh yeah, that the whole thing happened too. Yeah.
Yeah, or it was a little weird, but I still like Han in this movie though. I still think he's charming and great. I mean, that interaction with 3PO.
And I do
Oh,
like the little conversation with Leia at the end too,
Oh yeah,
where he's like, I
I'm
mean,
sure Luke wasn't on that thing.
and, and then he's like, you know, when Luke comes back, I won't get in the way.
Or
That's
well,
fine.
other good stuff too is like Han's like, oh, I think my vision is getting better. Instead of one big dark blur, it's one big bright blur. And Luke's like, no, there's not much to see here anyways. I used to live here, you know. You're gonna die here, you know. That's one of my favorites. And also Chewbacca telling Han Solo that Boba Fett's there. Boba Fett! Boba Fett! He can't see anything, he just beats Boba Fett, and then Boba Fett dies. And then everyone's hyped for Boba Fett was no more.
Yoda died in this movie too.
Yeah,
Yoda came into the movie just to die.
pretty much. In a very excellently performed performed scene, I should say, again. Incredible work by Frank Oz. I mean, there's not really much more to say, I don't think. I do like how everything ties up in a neat bow. There's not really any loose ends. It's a satisfying conclusion. Everybody gets together in the end. So this is one thing that I'm mixed about with the special edition, is the addition of all the like across the galaxy, everybody's celebrating because the Emperor's dead, all that kind of stuff. I like that. I don't really like the fact that there's a Gungan saying "We so free"
Mm-hmm.
in Naboo. I really could I could. You don't need that. And that's shades of things to come. And I was trying to think if there's any other things to note about that. But oh, the music change. I don't really like the music change. I just think it's kind of like not as charming. Or I like Yub Nub a lot, and the do 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 has always felt so corny to me. Whereas Yub Nub felt like a genuine celebration that's going on the planet, on Endor. So it's just, I don't know, it feels more homey and like everyone there is celebrating. I like the focus being on our group of characters that we know and love, as opposed to the way the special edition does it makes sense if you're watching them from movie 1 to movie 6, and that's the same thing with the Hayden Christensen change, kind of, except I don't really like it still. It makes sense if you were watching it in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but if you're watching 4, 5 them in release order, it makes literally no sense. You're just like, what are these planets? What is all this stuff? What is all this crap? I don't know what any of this is. And I think that's the most important thing about trying to preserve a movie the way it was originally made, so you can watch it the way it was when it released. I mean, I just don't. Yeah, it's sad. Thankfully, this discussion, me complaining about all the changes, is over and done with now, though, because we get to enjoy films that don't really have all that edits.
No changes. No, you didn't like the new edits in the prequel trilogy where they added practical things in post production.
That would be so weird. Well, they did. I will say they did change. We'll get to that when we talk about Phantom Menace. They did change Yoda. I guess I was mentioning it here. They changed Yoda because the original cut of the film, Okay, this is funny because I'm complaining about changes. I'm not going to complain about this change because they didn't get Frank Oz to do the puppetry. He just did the voice. And the puppet that they used in the original cut of Episode 1 looked terrible. Like, I don't know if they were trying to make Yoda look younger or something, but he just looks wrong. And the articulation's bad. It just looked terrible. So
nice.
One change, that's one change I kind of am more indifferent, but also a little bit thankful, just because it keeps the prequels consistent, is that they put CG Yoda in the place. And also because the puppetry is bad. No offense to that person, I'm sure they're wonderful, but you're no Frank Oz. Let's be honest.
Step down.
Final thoughts and rankings.
Score. Yeah.
Ranking score.
This is tough because I think there's a lot of stuff that I like here, but overall I do agree that the overall narrative isn't as strong as the other two. And I mean, the ending is really, really strong. I think that's a really nice, and there's some really standout moments in here. I mean, I like the Ewoks, but I think I would have to give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Only because I gave A New Hope 8.5, so I was like deliberating whether I should give it the same score or lower, is basically what I was between. And I think it should be a notch below because it's just like noticeably not as strong as the whole product.
Yeah.
And a story, you know. Yeah,
I'm kind of torn in between two scores. I'm torn between 8.5 and a 9. I think the movie's very. I love this movie. I think it's great. Still, I do think, like I said, it suffers from some problems with just a narrative. Maybe I don't know if it's pacing as more in terms of it. It doesn't have the through narrative isn't as strong. It does feel disjointed, and it isn't till we get to the rebellion deliberation with Mon Mothma that the movie kind of really feels like it's coming together, which is like 40 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's some issues with that. Despite the fact that those other two major scenes are fun and they're nice. The Yoda stuff and the stuff back on Tatooine.
I do like the Han Leia titty grab.
That's big highlight.
I like the
highlight.
And I like the singing in Jabba's palace. That performance is great. So
yeah, that really raises it above. I think I'm gonna stick with the 8.5. I think I'll stick with 8.5 just because it is a little not quite as strong. But I do still really like this movie a lot. And I mean, you always get to include it when you're watching the original trilogy. It's just a great conclusion, satisfying.
Well, that gives
Alrighty.
us 8.25 out of 10 Tarqaron
Yeah.
score. Alright, so stay tuned next week. I don't know, at some point we have double features going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that might be next week, or maybe not. I don't know.
We can yeah, well, we'll figure it out.
At the very least, we have episode 1 next.
We're going back in time 30, 35 years, I think it is. So, yeah.
Yes. So thank you for watching. Until next time, alright?